Hello, how are you all? I hope you're fabulous. I don't know what it is about Joe Rogan that drives people crazy, like just super leftist people or certain people in the mainstream media, but he drives them nuts for doing seemingly innocent things. It is amazing how much power they give him, and the fact that we're even talking about him or this topic is just silly to me. But there is a bigger meaning and an important point to be made about this, and that's why we're talking about it. So, Joe Rogan was in the news again. That's staying in. Am I read? He was in the news today because words. He was in the news again today because he was toying with the idea of suing CNN on his show. I don't think he is, but I think he was just flabbergasted at how this sort of took off in the narrative that people ran with. And recently on CNN, there was a doctor on a show, and he was talking about Joe Rogan and basically saying that Joe Rogan was promoting a horse dewormer medicine. And that's the narrative that a lot of media outlets have been using recently. And this originated from just a little video that Joe Rogan made. I saw it on his Instagram. I don't know if he has Twitter. And he was just telling his fans, like, hey, you guys, I came down with the Ovid. I'm okay. My doctor and I, we threw the kitchen sink at it. I did this, and this. I think he said he took some vitamin C. Maybe there was vitamin D. I don't know. He took a Z-Pack, a few other things. And one of the things that he mentioned was a prescribed drug called ivermectin. I think I'm saying that correctly, ivermectin. And so he was just saying that, and he was saying, yeah, but you know what? I'm feeling better. I'll be back in a few days. That was the entirety of the video. And what I got from it was he was just telling his fans, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why I'm not here. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. And I'll see you soon. Well, the media went nuts. And apparently this drug, by the way, don't ever listen to me about medications. And you should never just listen to what someone else is doing and then just go out and do it. You should always talk to your doctor. And I think most people do. And in that video, he referenced that he talked to his doctor and was prescribed by his doctor. So to me, that's saying, like, you should talk to your doctor. Anyway, the media took that and ran with that he was promoting this horse dewormer medicine. And apparently there's a version of this medicine that humans can take that is prescribed by doctors, and you pick it up from the pharmacy just like any other medication. And there's a version that is used for horses as a dewormer that you get from, I don't know, Tractor Supply. I think it comes in like a paste or something. So that's the narrative that they ran with, that he was promoting this horse dewormer. And naturally, he's like, what are you talking about? No, I wasn't. Should I sue these people? Like, what do I do in this situation? But in my opinion, that wasn't even the most egregious thing that happened. So there was a story that came out in the Rolling Stone that really on its surface should have made everyone scratch their heads. But media outlets, even big mainstream media outlets, just ran with this before they did any sort of fact checking or sourcing. So I'm going to read you this Twitter thread. This is by a guy that I follow on Twitter. His name is Drew Holden. He's a journalist, and he does an amazing job of putting these just really long threads together and really calling out the media and what it does. And that's what we're going to go through, just a little bit of it. If you want to look through the whole thing, go on his Twitter account. But he's talking about this story that came out in the Rolling Stone. Apparently this story originated from a local news station, and that's where Rolling Stone got this. But this was the big outlet that really took this off and caused this sort of domino with other media outlets. So let's look into it a little bit, and then we'll talk. Okay, so he says, we've got to talk about the Rolling Stone ivermectin article. Turns out the story about rural hospitals so flooded with ODs that they couldn't treat other patients was made up, entirely invented. A lot of people took the bait, and we've got the screenshots. So here's the story that came out in the Rolling Stone. And he says, first, for context, here's the original piece from Rolling Stone and the follow-up from the actual hospital saying the story is BS and that the one person the story quotes doesn't work at the hospital anymore and hasn't in months. So here's the original story from Rolling Stone. Here's the message from the hospital confirming that that doctor does not work at the hospital anymore and has not treated any patients with this overdose. And the original story was gunshot victims left waiting as horse dewormer overdoses overwhelm Oklahoma hospitals. That was the story. Now, to me, when I see that, it makes me scratch my head right away. And if I'm a journalist, I would maybe want to look into that a little more. Anywho, so he goes on, but it wasn't just a single story out in the ether. Plenty of other places picked up the story too, with no additional sourcing or research. That is the Business Insider. It goes on. But the real champion of this tall tale was MSNBC, and Rachel Maddow had to tweet it, and it went viral. She's got an audience of millions of people and couldn't be bothered to even look into this story that pretty obviously doesn't pass the sniff test. I can't talk today. So this was her tweet that went out and just went completely viral. And here's another one. And another one. So basically this Twitter thread just goes on and on and on and on and on. Publication after publication. Even the Daily Mail? Really? Publication after publication after blue check mark after blue check mark. So I'm going to scroll a little bit to the end. Again, if you want to see that entire thread, you can, I linked to it in the description of this video. But what he said at the end is very interesting. So he says, it should go without saying, but inventing a narrative out of thin air simply because it confirms your priors is not going to help rebuild trust in the media. It would have taken a single phone call to shoot this story down. Why didn't that happen? The same people that purport to be concerned about misinformation and how it spreads on platforms like Twitter will surely be silent on this. Where's the gnashing of the teeth with the disinformation reporters? Where are the Twitter content warnings? Where's the outrage? You won't hear any, he says, because this is acceptable. This is the acceptable type of political lie. And none of these people or outlets will learn anything. They'll keep doing this because they care more about scoring cheap dunks on their opponents than getting to the truth. And there's something else about this story that I wanted to point out. So this was uncovered. The photo that they used in the story was from a while ago. So that photo was from a completely different story. It was people in line to get the vaccine. That was all the way back in January, which I know people sometimes use stock photos, not really a big deal. But in this story in particular, you would think that someone would be at the hospital, maybe interviewing people. I don't know, but clearly not. He did say there is an update, and they did update the story, but the interesting thing about them updating the story was that they never actually took it down. Here you see they even issued a new story, but as of right now, if that changed, let me know. They still haven't taken the original down. And he does say one more thing. He wanted to point out a question that he gets. So he says, some people are saying, okay, well, you just reached out to one random hospital that's maybe okay. Maybe it's the other hospitals that are overrun. And he says, well, this is the hospital that the doctor who was quoted was affiliated with. He's not affiliated with any other hospitals. So how could he be talking about a different hospital? This is crazy too. So this was in the Rolling Stones update, and it says Oklahoma specific ivermectin overdose figures are not available, but the count is unlikely to be a significant factor in hospital bed availability. I totally agree with Drew. People wonder why there is such a distrust in the media. The same thing happened with the Wee Spa story. So the women went into the spa. They were on their side where there's naked people. It's supposed to be one sex, and they saw what appeared to be a man to them with his penis out, and they were all upset about it. They tried to complain, and then what happened after that? All of these publications said that these women were making it up and that it was a hoax. Well, come to find, they were not making it up. Come to find, the individual in question is a prior offender and had criminal charges. Not only criminal charges, there was a wanted poster within, I can't remember if it was the sheriff's department or the police department, but they were wrong. And none of these publications ever tried to reach out to the women and get the real story. In the age of Me Too, in the age of Believe All Women, they threw these women under the bus to protect their narrative. And I think that's why Joe Rogan so much, and he innocently walks into it. He just innocently walks into the lion's den. But why they can't stand Joe Rogan so much is because he challenges their narrative. Won't even fact check it. They don't mind that it could be a false story. And we don't have journalists anymore. We have activists who are more concerned with pushing their beliefs and their ideology than actually finding the truth. And news outlets are gonna get things wrong. Sometimes we're all human. We all make mistakes. News organizations make mistakes. That's why people retract things. But what was interesting about this, and the reason I wanted to show it, was just how many publications just brazenly, arrogantly picked up this story, and not one of them even thought to check it. But anyway, let me know what you all think about everything, and I'll see you later. Bye.